Welcome to SociologyVibes, where we simplify challenging ideas into easy to understand insights. Today, our focus is on the explanation of the world systems theory or classification system used by social scientists to understand global stratification. Global stratification refers to the inequalities that exist between countries. While the world systems classification is a bit outdated from when it was originally developed, today it still gives us a unique way to understand global stratification or global inequality. The world systems theory or classification system was developed by Emanuel Wallerstein in 1974 and focused solely on the economic relationships between countries instead of political ideologies. Wallerstein ranked the world into three economic categories that included core nations, semi-peripheral nations, and peripheral nations. Core nations include the wealthiest, highly industrialized and capitalist-leaning countries that control the global economy. Due to their immense economic power, they're in positions to exploit the semi-peripheral and the peripheral countries. They are characterized by their wealthy economies, relatively high wages, and advanced technologies. The United States, Japan, and Germany are examples of core nations. Semi-peripheral nations have economies that are dependent on the core nations. Their economies are powerful, but not as powerful when compared to the core countries. Their economies are industrialized, but not as technologically developed as the core countries. They provide raw materials and cheap labor for the core countries, and they are in positions to exploit peripheral nations. And some of these semi-peripheral nations are Vietnam, Brazil, and Mexico. And over time, we have seen manufacturing jobs outsourced by the core countries to these semi-peripheral nations. As core nations shifted to service, technological, and consumer-driven types of occupations. Now, the peripheral nations are the poorest and the least industrialized. They provide raw materials and cheap labor for both the core nations and also the semi-peripheral countries that have expanding economies. Peripheral nations have the least economic and political stability, and they rely on financial assistance from other countries. This puts them in a position of exploitation by wealthier countries around the world. Haiti, Afghanistan, and Yemen are examples of peripheral nations. Societies have changed significantly since Wallerstein introduced the world systems theory. Yet, this classification model is still helpful in our understanding of global stratification or global inequality among countries. Today, however, it is more difficult to rank every country into these three general categories due to their growth of globalization and global trade agreements and treaties between countries. For example, countries like China and India today have powerful economies and technologies, and their economies can be viewed as interdependent rather than dependent on the core countries. Still, this classification system explains how trade and wealth move globally. It helps us to understand why some countries struggle economically and the control that core nations have, and to a certain degree, semi-peripheral countries have over the global economy. And this makes sociology fascinating, don't you think? Thank you for watching. Be sure to comment below with your thoughts, questions, or any topics you'd like us to explore next. Let's keep the conversation going and our community growing. See you in the next Sociology Vibes video.